Class, this is Professor McGuire, and I'd like to take some time to talk to you about how to complete the lesson plans and the benchmark unit for this course. So let me get my slide deck up to share with you. All right, so as we know, this is English 470, Methods for Writing and Grammar, and we're going to discuss the lesson plans number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and how they become the benchmark unit. What I would like you to make sure that you do is you go to the Halo announcements, and I need you to download the McGuire lesson plan template. So the instructions probably tell you to use one of the College of Ed templates. However, I have a template that I prefer. And in fact, on campus in the English department, they do use my lesson plan template. So this is the one that I do want you to use. You will use this as a single document for lesson plan number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then a little bit later, I will show you the exemplar from one of my former students on how they completed this assignment and really excelled at it. So let's get started. So lesson plan number 1 is going to be an argument essay, and the focus will be on standards and activities. One of the things that I want you to think about is that this is not just one lesson plan. Think of this as a mini unit. Um, you're going to be using writing standards from your state. So where it says over here to copy and paste the Arizona writing standards, that's not necessary if you're teaching in another state. So put in your writing standards. So everybody's will be the same here. Your name, this is English, it's an argument essay. Now you pick the grade level. So it needs to be any grade level between 6th and 12th, and you can continue this throughout the entire unit. Like I said, this becomes the benchmark unit. So how would you do this for the grade level that you've selected? As far as the differentiated instruction, you may just keep that right here the way that it's written. You do not need to put anything different in there. But one of the things that I want you to really think about is the day range. How many days is it really going to take you to comprehensively teach argument essay? So I have this going across. So the day range, um, how many days will this take you to do certain lessons? Um, and then the template works going in the down fashion. So let's say that you want to take, 3 or 4 days to teach something with the argument essay. Then you have your writing objective. You can do bell work if you'd like. How are you going to teach it or model it? What are you going to have the students do to practice? What are your check for understanding, your CFUs or your assessments? And then what kind of materials or resources or technology do you think that you're going to need? I need you to be also thinking about when you're doing this to make it comprehensive. And this, what I'm saying, applies to any of the essays that you would be teaching for this benchmark unit. What about the brainstorming, the rough drafting? How are you going to do the editing, the rewriting? These are all of the things you need to take into consideration. And each of these lesson plans, these mini units, will have a reflective paragraph. So I just want to point out that I don't want you to forget and neglect that. So when you submit lesson plan number 1, it's in this single document, this template that I've created, and lesson plan 2, 3, and 4 will just be left blank, and that's okay. So you just submit it with those kind of in the same document with nothing written in them. Then I will put comments in the gradebook, and you'll download that out of the gradebook, and then you'll move into lesson plan number 2. So lesson plan number 2 is informative explanatory essay, and it's going to have a technology focus. So again, you think of this as a mini unit. How many days is it going to take you to thoroughly teach this type of essay? And again, you're just continuing with the same document. So you'll have lesson plan number 1 is already completed up there. You're going to fill out lesson plan number 2, which of course is more like a mini unit, and 3 and 4 will be left blank. Um, don't forget to write in that reflective paragraph. Then as we continue on, I think you can kind of see the format that this is taking. So our third essay that you're going to be creating lesson plans for, again, like a mini unit, will be the narrative essay. And this is going to have more of the grammar and vocabulary focus. So again, keeping with the same grade level that you've been working on, paste in your writing standards that have to do with narrative writing, grammar, and vocab. And again, always consider how much time will you need to cover this type of essay in depth with your students. Now, narrative writing is a little bit different because it's going to be telling a story with character setting. There's going to be different events like the conflict, use of dialogue, descriptive language, resolution, narrative point of view. So those are all things that you can work into those mini lessons that you're doing in this mini unit. And again, don't forget the reflective paragraph. So now when you submit lesson plan number 3, it's all in that same single document. Lesson plan 1 is already completed. Lesson plan 2 is completed. And now you're adding in lesson plan 3. 4 will be blank. So then when you get to lesson plan 4, you just download it again out of the grade book, and then you will be completing the final one. This is a focus on creative writing, differentiation, and engagement strategies plus assessment. So again, you just continue on, same grade level you've been working with, your state standards, and approximately how many days will you be spending teaching this type of writing assignment. With creative writing, consider how you will incorporate the differentiation, the strategies that are going to engage your learners, and then the meaningful assessment, and then the reflective paragraph. So then you'll submit this. And now, um, once you get feedback in the gradebook, this becomes your benchmark unit. So all of those lesson plans that have always been submitted in that single document, go back into the gradebook, make sure that you've checked for anything that I have written that says suggestions for benchmark rewrite, make those corrections on those lesson plans, highlight them in yellow so I can just quickly see that you've addressed that. Then you'll just resubmit this entire document again as the benchmark unit. And I realize that the Lopes Write score will probably be quite high, and I'm okay with that because I realize that it's your previous work. Let me share a moment here. I'm going to show you what the lesson plan template looks like in its blank format. So I've got this in the Halo announcement. So it just looks like this. Everything is blank. And I'll just kind of do a slow scroll here. So I don't want you to pull out any of these like mini units. Always submit as a single document. So it just kind of continues on, and it'll make it very easy for me to see that this will then become your benchmark unit. So again, just scrolling a little bit here, we get into the third lesson plan. And then the fourth one. So let me show you also the exemplar from one of my former students. So this is what it would look like filled out. So this particular pre-service teacher took obviously we see this as argument essay. We can start to see that these are very specific standards for argument. So those have just been copied and pasted in. Leave the statement here for differentiation. I do that because you really don't know what kind of 504s and IEPs your pretend students have for this particular assignment, so we can just leave that. Now you'll notice that this is for the argument. So this particular pre-service teacher is saying that this particular part of the assignment that she is doing is going to take 4 to 5 days. And again, everything's kind of going in a downward fashion. So I will be looking at it going down like this. They also put in a link, which is kind of nice. And then into the independent practice. Checks for understanding, and materials needed. So now what happens is then we go back up and we move over to the right. And now we're in this particular section. So this pre-service teacher says these next lessons in this mini unit for the argument essay will take 2 to 3 days. So going down, and I'm just in that second column, which this pre-service teacher has designated to take 2 to 3 days. And then we're going to go back up and then over to the right. So now I'm in this third column and we're still on argument essay. Again, it's a mini unit. It's going to take quite a few days to complete. You can't just write an argument essay in one class period sitting. It's going to take several weeks, I would assume. So this one, they're saying 2 to 3 days, going down, and then you can just see we go over one more. And I think you can kind of see the structure that this particular pre-service teacher has put in for that. So this is taking this pre-service teacher, is assuming this might take upwards of 2 weeks to teach comprehensively. And then they've written the reflective paragraph here. So then when this one gets submitted as lesson plan number 1, then lesson plan 2, 3, and 4 are blank. But if you were to continue scrolling, you would see that now this is the benchmark unit at that point. So I will stop there. I will have everything in the Halo announcement. So, of course, this video that you're watching, the template that you need to download, and the exemplar will be there. And like always, if you have any questions, please feel free to private message me and I can address that. And if that still doesn't work, we can always do a quick Zoom and I can walk you through it that way. I look forward to your lesson plans and your benchmark unit toward the end of our time together. Have a very nice day, and I look forward to your unit. Bye-bye.